me for 1 second.
I already started recording.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
Javier. Thank you very much, my friend. Okay, okay.
Eric, something happened. You're muted and we cannot see you.
It is. There you are.
Oh, okay, here you are. Perfect. Okay.
Oops. Maybe he has a bad connection.
I think he was transitioning from the phone to the computer because he had a vertical screen. So I think he's transitioning to the computer. Here we go. Okay.
Oh.
Well, Rebecca, meanwhile, I'm going to tell you that I really want to understand what you're doing, because the potential for AI everywhere is incredible, right? But especially in drug development. So, as you know, our fund supports startups that are working on the cardiometabolic and neuropsychiatric space, but they have to be empowered by AI. That's one of the because we recognize the empowering potential of AI to do everything from drug discovery, target recognition, target identification. What Schrodinger is doing. There are companies that are doing similar to Schrodinger, but with biologics, right, with large molecules. And then the entire process after that, with animal studies that I think that the FDA or the EMA, I think it was the EMA that starting in 2030, they will not accept animal studies. They have to be AI driven to apply to IND. So the potential is huge in there. It is amazing. Eric, welcome back.
I agree.
Thank you, Javier. Sorry, there was a phone call that entered my mobile phone and derailed me. But okay, so it's great to have you. Let's get started just to take advantage of your time. It's a real pleasure to have our first limited partner update. And the idea is just to provide a short update really on where we are. So I will just start with a very brief update on overall where we're standing. Then Javier will be sharing a little bit of the update on the warehouse. And also we made a very interesting update on our selection method of companies incorporating AI, which is really cool. And we want to showcase that with you. And lastly, I want to share with you some of the new tiers for attracting limited partners and some of the new benefits that we have added, in particular around co-investment opportunities. We have, I will describe in a little more detail in the next few slides, okay? So starting with the overall updates, and this is a refresher. This is our fund thesis, which is very important. That's what you as limited partner are really investing on, which is a 5 million seed fund backing 20 AI-driven drug discovery startups that are focused on heart and mind. And this is being led by Javier and myself full time when we're planning to really partner with the founders and provide profound value with them. So that's what we're doing here. And the fund updates are the following. And every time that we will provide you updates, we will be providing the updates in the three main areas of the fund. The first one is fundraising and investor relations. And speaking about this, we have secured already 1 million in soft commitments, right? Which is around 20% of the total fund value. We have been able to do this from January until July, which is I think is a good progress. We need to, of course, continue our journey towards the 5 million. But overall, I think it's a very decent level so that we can start to think about creating the fund in Delaware. Our original goal was to create the fund once we reach 1.2 million, and we are very, very close to do that. So once we do that, we will be creating the fund, and I will share in the next few slides the fund vendor that we have selected for this activity. The second point is that we have 14 limited partners, out of which probably 5 or 6 are family and friends in our early stages of the fund, but we have seen a very interesting evolution with people like you, Rebecca, or Arun, or a few others, which are, really what I call smart money, high professionals that have felt attracted with the fund. And we have very interesting people. We have one vice president of a major pharma company. We have the owner of the of the number 3 laboratory in Mexico, and a few others which are really, really well educated professionals. And our goal is to start building a community around this, right? We just don't want this to become a fund, but it's a good way to bring camaraderie and to bring a community because we will be interacting for the next few years together. So my personal aspiration, as well as Javier, is that we are able to also create good friendships out of these, good business connections, and use the fund as an excuse to remain connected for the life of the fund. Okay. Then that gives us an average investment of 70K. Originally, the journey for the fund, we started with a very low minimum. I think that was a little bit of inexperience and eagerness to get started. So we have a few LPs that did checks of 25K, et cetera, et cetera. But really, we have increased our minimums to 50K with a recommended investment of 100K. Okay, so our total average right now is 70K. We have one limited partner that gave us 250K, and we're planning to onboard some larger investors in the next few weeks. But that's our current average. And what I will share today is the new incentive schemes to really try to attract new limited partners and also try to bring a more expedited fundraising process for the fund. Okay, I will do that in the after Javier presents the updates. Let me then jump to deal flow and founder support. As I mentioned, we're using AI in a very interesting fashion. We created a new founder intake form in which founders fill out that form. Then Javier and I review it in conjunction with Javier, with Marianne Cointreau. And then we create the deal memos in a very expedited fashion. Of course, that is not replacing our human judgment, but it's somehow taking us to the next level. And that's one major update. The other one is that we have written already 6 checks in what we believe are top scientific companies, and we will be sharing more details in the with Javier. And then we have 4 more companies under assessment that we're planning to write checks, hopefully by the end of this year, totaling 10 investments in portfolio companies. Regarding fund operations, we selected Venture 360. I will describe more in a second. We also strengthened our advisor pool. As you might have seen in LinkedIn, we have already onboarded new advisors. We onboarded Karsten Baumgarten, which is a neuroscientist, a really, really top scientist. We also onboarded um,
Elvira
Javier,
Forte, Elvira Forte, a
Elvira Forte.
cardiobiologist. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Cardiovascularist, and we also onboarded our new regulatory affairs advisor, and that is somehow strengthening a lot our pool for technical advisory. We also onboarded one computational biologist, which is going to help us with the artificial intelligence onboarding for founders and also for company assessment on companies that are using active technology. Okay, so we believe we're building this very, very professional advisory pool. And we also have Adam Millinger, which is going to help us also in talent selection for the different companies and assessment of founders. He's really designing right now a very cool tool to assess really what is the founder team strength against our excellence criteria. Okay, so that's the second update. And lastly, the thing that we're working on right now is the capital call planning. In order to really detect how much capital will we need in the short term to continue the investments. Our preliminary thinking is that we are planning to call on 50% of the committed capital by the month of September, and then we're planning to request the other funds approximately by March of next year, so that we complete the 100% of the first generation of limited partners. Okay. So this is the overall big picture update. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me right now, or if not, we can solve any questions at the end. All good, Rebecca? Are we?
Well, are you still looking for advisors or anyone like that, or are you pretty good
No,
right
no, it's a great point, Rebecca. Thank you for asking. We see a gap of 2 key advisors. One
Mhm.
advisor is a legal advisor because we had a preliminary arrangement with one lawyer, but there was a conflict of interest with her current employer as she decided to back down. So one of the, let's say, vacancies that we have in the fund is for a lawyer, preferably that has experience within pharma IP, And
Mhm.
then the other big need that we have is a venture partner that might have track record of running a fund. This is not necessarily due to lack of knowledge, but because we really think we could benefit from connections and also to bring a little bit of aura of a previous track record of investments of a fund manager into our fund. These are the two that we're thinking, Rebecca. But if you see anything in our fund that is missing that could benefit from a specific advisor, please feel free to suggest. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know some of my contacts in Southern California and tied to UCSD. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of biotech and pharma development that goes on there too. I can reach out to
Mm-hmm.
contacts there if you'd like, if that could be.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. That would be wonderful. I think San Diego is a super nice hub, and if you have any good, valuable contacts, we would love to meet them and explore if they can join the fund, either as advisors, maybe limited partners, or in any other form as needed. Okay.
Absolutely. Happy to.
Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Perfect. Okay. Then no questions, sir. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then let me move. Javier, please go ahead, my friend. What we have here is first the slide on the process, and then we have the slide on the different companies. Okay.
So thank you, Eric. When we were preparing these slides, the original idea was to show you the companies where we have already made an angel investment, right? But then I thought, we thought, wait a second, our process to select those companies is pretty sophisticated, and it is getting better and better. So I think that as an LP, you would be interested in understanding how we choose the companies, right? You would think that this is like an obvious question, but many times when we talk to potential LPs, they don't ask the question. I think it is a critical one. How do we do it, right? So I would say we try to summarize a very sophisticated process in these 5 steps. Well, 6 if you count 0, right? So step 0 basically is just to gather the potential companies to analyze from accelerators and angel clubs, and also from exited founders, right? If there's an exited founder that instead of buying a boat and go to the Bahamas for the rest of their life, decide to have a second or a third company, we try to focus on those guys because they know the path. They have. I don't need to convince you on why this is a good strategy. We are focused on most of the important accelerators in all of the important accelerators in the country in both coasts, from the bigger ones like Y Combinator. We go to the Resi meetings, Mass Challenge, etc. You name it. And then the first analysis that we make is, are these companies fitting our thesis? That's number one. And from that, I would say that in the first half of this year, we identified close to 1,000 companies, really like 1,000. So we have an analyst that helps us with that and say, okay, out of these 1,000, how many can we rule out because the thesis it is not perfect? They are more focused on diagnosis. They are more focused on devices. And we bring this number down to just a few dozens, right? And for them, we do what we call Nitirana, right? If you can see on the second box on the right side says Nitirana. So we like Sanskrit words because my friend and co-founder Eric is an enthusiast Buddhist, and Nitirana in Sanskrit means to choose rightly, right? So the Nitirana process has 3 big sections. We analyze the solution and science of the proposal, the team and the traction of the team, and then the financials and the feasibility of whatever they are proposing. And as you can see on the left, we analyze 28 traits, 28 aspects of the proposal. Where are these aspects coming from? Basically, an AI analysis of what are the most important aspects that determine success in this space. And we categorize them in 3, right? Science and solution, team and traction, and financial and feasibility. So it is 8, 7, and 7, respectively. And we run the analysis, and that gives us a score. a score for the category and a total score. Of course, we don't leave it like that. That's only just the first, piece of input of analysis as we have, and then we do desk work for all of them, the human part of it, right? Because AI doesn't apply perfectly to everything that we're doing. So on the second part, we include two things: the human aspect of it, but also our perspective of how we see the future going. The more we learn, the more we have a better perspective of the Sila point of view of how things are moving forward in these four spaces: cardiovascular, metabolic, etc. Right? So we make this human analysis. So we challenge the AI assessment. Very importantly, we identify red flags, and we have an AI-aided search accelerator presentation. So basically, if we want to analyze this company, let me explain what it means. Is this company graduated from any accelerator? Is this company presenting in bio meeting, resi meeting, plug and play? So to see how much presence they have, because that's another sign of trust from our perspective. And from that, it will give us a lot of answers, but we will get from it and also a lot of questions. So we send the questions to the founders and say, from our process, we have these 3 or 20 questions, right? And once those questions are clarified, we think that we are ready to invest. So the last step is to go to our experts, right? To Karsten, as Eric was mentioning, in neurosciences, or to Rivera in cardiology, or the regulatory person, etc., and say, the question is this: please tell me why I should not invest in this company. I know why I should. We did a lot of work before that, right? And if the answer is no, I cannot tell you anything, then we go. Or I wouldn't unless we clarify these questions, then we go back to the founder. So as you can see, it's a very thorough process, right? And from that, we went from 1,000 to 6 companies where we have invested already, and 4 more that we are analyzing. So that's 10. That's like, what is it, like 1%? 0.1%, right? Can you give me the next slide, Eric? These are the 6 companies that we have already invested in. And as you can see, they are divided on the top, cardiometabolic, and the lower part, neuropsychiatry, heart and mind. Our most important investment have been on the cardio side of the thesis. Why? Because coronary artery disease is the #1 cause of death in the world, more than all of the cancers together. Acute myocardial infarction, right? To put it simply, and its complications. So these 3 companies, Cyclarity, Repair, and Velo Pharma, are investing in something that was unthinkable 10, 15 years ago. That is the reversal of the cardiovascular plaque in the coronary arteries, basically unclogging the coronary arteries. Just to give you a taste of this, if you follow thoroughly the American Heart Association guidelines for the treatment of coronary artery disease, you will get a reduction of 1 millimeter after 7 years of stringent treatment, 1 millimeter. These guys have shown a reduction of 50%, that is more than 2 millimeters in the larger arteries, 50% of the occlusion in the coronary arteries in 30 days, 30 in animals, days, not months, days. So this is absolutely incredible. And they do it with different methods, right? Repair with a small molecule, Cyclarity with a mRNA molecule, a biologic, and Velo Pharma with an interesting process, because the underlying disease in the internal part of the arteries, that is called the endothelium, is inflammation. So they destroy the inflammatory cells in the endothelium. And with that, the expectation is that inflammation is gone, the problem is gone. On the metabolic side, we have 1 company. This company found a way to turn fatty cells into insulin-producing cells, not stem cells, fatty cells, the ones that we all have under our skin, turn them into cells that produce insulin from the same patient. So basically the process is they take a fatty cell from a patient, they turn it into an insulin-producing cell as if it was a pancreatic cell producing insulin, that is a normal pancreatic cell, and they make between 6 to 8 billion clones of it, and they inject it into the abdomen of the patient, in this case, an animal, right? And so far, all of the animals, these are pilot studies in animals, of course. They have 40 something animals. If I remember correctly, they are cats for some reason. Cats usually are not used for this, but in this case, I think they're cats. None of them have developed hypoglycemia, that is super dangerous condition. It's an acute condition when sugar levels go down to a level that can be dangerous to life. Not one single animal had developed that, and not one single animal has required additional insulin. So basically, it is a cure of the cure. I say it's the FDA don't like that word, right? So I say it with care. They call it drug-free long-term remission. It is a cure. If everything goes well, the next step is going to be to treat patients, humans, adult humans, even when type 1 diabetes starts in children. Usually, and I was a part of the Vertex program for this, you need to test it first in adults with type 1 diabetes before doing it with children. Medify, on the lower right side, neurology, is a company that is focused on transcranial stimulation of the brain cortex of patients with dementia. So they basically identify with high resolution electroencephalogram which parts of the cortex of the brain is not working properly, is understimulated, and they stimulate it either with light, lasers, or with electromagnetic fields. There's a lot of sham, companies working on this. This is the one that we analyzed that has the potential to be approved by Medicare, because most of these patients are going to be, of course, supported by Medicare. It's dementia, and they have excellent results. And finally, Allos AI. Allos is not really a neurology company. It's a very interesting company. Rebecca, I think that this could be particularly interesting, to you. What they are doing is improve generic drugs with better bioavailability, shelf life, somehow improved, right? I mean, they have a broad definition of improvement. They started with one molecule a year ago. Now they are working on the 8th molecule. So it is a fascinating company. The CEO is a very smart guy. That is probably the age of my son. Incredibly smart, active mathematician. So that's Allos AI. As you can see, we still don't have anything on psychiatry. We want to balance, right, our entire warehouse, but we are not going to choose a mediocre company just for the sake of balance, right? We are considering 2 companies at this point. One of them is working on major depression, and another one in bipolar disorder on the psychiatry side. We are still also working on another company in the cardiology space, and one more in neurology. So those are, if everything goes well, we will finish 2025 with 10 companies in our portfolio. Any question? Okay, thank you very much.
No, congratulations. These sound really exciting.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you,
I
Rebecca.
have a question, Javier.
Yes, George.
Does your analysis include potential competition? Because, I mean, there are a lot of people working on a lot of things all over the world, and you see what
Yes.
you see, probably mostly here in the US. But
Absolutely,
there might be people
yes.
working on it in Japan, China.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
second question is, are you thinking about who you're going to sell it to?
Yes. So let me answer first the second question, right? Because
Okay.
the second question is probably on the larger orbit of
The
this map,
outer-
right?
outer-
The outer orbit.
Outer
You
ring.
see, and the outer ring, yeah, orbit. Okay. The outer ring. So yes, these are the companies that could potentially acquire in that space. Not necessarily that company, but in that space, right?
Yeah.
Now, every time we test one of these companies, we analyze them, we explore, right? If they are already speaking with someone, if they are receiving a grant from someone. For example, Medify is receiving a grant, if I remember correctly, from Lilly. So that gives you a very strong sign that the company is interested, right, in investing in them. So that would be the answer to the second question. The answer to the first question is yes, we consider that. And you know something, I will be very happy to share with you the attributes of Nitirana, so you can see where competition is included. But the competition is actually the entire competitive landscape is the question number one in Nitirana.
Okay.
Right? So definitely. And then most of the time when we speak with these guys in the first or second pitch is like, how are you differentiating from A, B, or C, right? The competitors that we identified.
Right.
So that would be my answer, Jordi. Anything you want to add,
Good.
Eric?
Thank you.
Javier, thank you very much. No, I think you describe it very well. Maybe from my perspective, as if from a business perspective, what I really like about the first steps that we have given in the portfolio is first of all that we build this very nice pillar on atherosclerosis, right? Because as you can see, we have three different mechanisms of action, three different stages on the drug development process, and particularly I am excited about Clarity because they are already running their phase 1 trial, which to me makes me carefully optimistic that an exit from a time frame perspective could be shorter than what we would be expecting. Of course, nothing can be guaranteed, etc. But Cyclarity makes me quite excited, and I actually like
Yes.
this pillar. I also like the fact that we're really tackling diabetes type 1, which is really a core disease. And as you rightly mentioned, Javier, probably on psychiatry, we're waiting. There's a lot of activity on psychedelics on depression. And there's a major trial to be published by Compass Pathways, a listed company, which is already running phase 3 trials for psilocybin in diabetes. There's also
Mhm.
many companies working on DMT compounds that we are planning to be used for diabetes. So I think these major milestones will be coming in the public markets in the next 6 months. And that will allow us to really start branching out and analyzing earlier stage companies that could follow on this approach. We have been a little bit careful there because it's a controversial category. There's this historical bias against the use of psilocybin in depression. So that's why we want to see if the door opens with the FDA, and then we will start to look for this portfolio, Javier. But
Yeah.
I think that would be my only addition, Javier.
Thank you, Eric. And by the way, Alan joined, so thank you for joining, Alan.
Mm.
Thank you, Javier.
Alan, welcome. So then, just moving on then to the next update, which is on my side, Javier. Thank you very much, by the way, for the hard work we have done so far on the selection of companies. Looking into the fund terms, we have created this incentive in order to really try to attract larger limited partners and also to try to trigger earlier investments, right? We have created three categories of limited partners. The first one is regular limited partners, in which the investment range goes from 50,000 to 250,000, right? There, basically, if you buy 100K, that would be buying you X percentage of the total fund in Delaware, and then we wouldn't be providing any additional incentive, right? Then we are about to create something new for the fund, which I think it's quite exciting. It's the creation of co-investment opportunities. And let me explain to you in a nutshell how this works. Out of our 20 companies, we will be monitoring and working along these companies for many years. And there will be opportunities that we spot for a quick return. In other words, imagine a company that just got an IND to run their phase 1 trial, and then we see that their valuation will go up because that is a catalyst event that usually raises valuations. In those cases where we see optimistic companies, we will be creating SPVs, is called special purpose vehicles, where you can pool different investors and fortify the investments. I think this is a very nice value add because it's not only making an investment on the fund, but buying the rights for investing in opportunities that would not be blinded. In other words, you know which company, you know which founder, you know what's the circumstance of the project, and that could be a really good way to start enriching the portfolio as we gain more information on the companies. Another thing that we're envisioning for this is that we are making a small reserve of the fund to buy two positions of 100,000 in two other funds that are investing with some form of congruence with our thesis, and that will broaden our universe of companies from 20 companies that we're observing in the funds to 60 total companies. So I think this is quite innovative in the sense that many venture investors only buy 20, and then if they want to buy co-investment opportunities with other funds, they need to start diversifying into two other funds. So here, I think this is quite an interesting opportunity because you buy your first position on the fund, you own a stake in 20 companies, and then you're owning stake in two funds that will be the seed for co-investment opportunities in the future, right? So that's what we have created, and we're planning to offer that co-investment opportunity for anchor LPs and strategic LPs, okay? And then the other thing that we have modulated is the management fee, which this is no change. Originally, our LPs under 250, we were planning a 2.5 management fee, which is pretty much in line with the industry standard. You know, this is not something we're overcharging. The overall industry standard is between 2.4 and 2.5 in total, and that would be the fee. And then for anchor LPs and strategic LPs, we're planning to provide an incentive of 175 to 2% of management fee. As you can see also in the anchor and strategic LPs, we're planning to provide additional points of carry in order to really stimulate that additional investment, right? We also have included a referral a premium. So in case you would be bringing, for example, as anchor, another anchor, we would be also offering some additional carry incentive carries, okay? So that's in a nutshell what we have done in terms of fund terms. So what is new to summarize? We have created 3 tiers. Secondly, we have developed this model of co-investment rights. And thirdly, we have developed the carry bonus and reduction of management fees depending on the volume of investment, right? So that is one of the updates. And the other update before we go into questions is Venture 360. We have made the decision of who will help us with the fund administration. And we really feel convinced this is a very, very good company. Venture 360, they, first of all, we wanted to take care of all the compliance and the accounting. We are a small fund, so we don't want to reinvent the wheel or to generate any kind of risk for anyone. So, they're an institutional grade company. They offer us compliance from day one. They have been in the market for 10 years. And they offer also a service where in the future, you go into Sila V website, you will be able to click on the website, and then you will be able to see what's your investment, what has been the progress, download your W-2 forms in order to have everything ready for your accountant to do the yearly tax declaration, okay? So that's basically in a nutshell what I wanted to update you on. And I would love to have any questions or have an open dialogue or anything that might have come to mind after seeing these slides. Team. Okay.
I was curious if you guys are tapped into the accelerator program at Mayo Clinic. Is that one that you're talking to?
No,
not yet,
Mayo
Rebecca.
Clinic. No, not yet.
This is a good suggestion.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit more about it. We would love to explore.
Yeah, it's I think it's called the Health Tech or Health something accelerator at Mayo, but it's here in Scottsdale, Arizona at Mayo Clinic here. Stephen Lester, the gentleman that runs it, he's a cardiologist. That's the reason I thought about him. He would probably love what you're doing, especially with your focus on that sector. Of course, Mayo is also really renowned for their research in neuro science as well, and neurology. So I think they have one of the best neurological centers in the world. So I'm happy to put you in touch because they do source a lot of startups from that category as well, from all over the world, not just in the United States. And that was my other question. Are your startups all based here or are they global companies?
Yeah, Rebecca, we have decided to do only US companies in our first fund. First of all, for taxation purposes, there are some companies that have dual organizations. Example, they're based in Switzerland and they have an LLC in Delaware, etc. That would work, but what we don't want is to invest only in companies that have one presence in another country. And also that's for risk minimization as well, right? We want to just to remain tight. But we definitely would appreciate that intro to Mayo Clinic. It would be wonderful. not only due to the prestige of Mayo, but because it can really bring us good deals. So thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll maybe I can forward the deck that you had given me, or if you have something new, I'm happy to send it to them, and I know them pretty well, so I'm happy to make that connection.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
other than the conventional accelerators, the big ones, the other ones that we have in our scope are university based, Berkeley, Harvard, MIT, etc., but nothing in hospitals. Another one that we're planning to explore is Cleveland Clinic. They also have something interesting, right? But if you can, send us an email, or at least give us a name, contact, whatever helps. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Good point.
Okay. Perfect. Arun, anything came to mind, my friend, or we're all clear?
Yeah, I think sounds good. Great insights. And I think the question I had is on the Nitiran analysis, right? Do you share that, with the companies that are applying, or is that something very internal?
Yeah,
How do you go about that, right? Once the
that's
analysis is done.
Thank you, Aaron. It's a great question, man. It's an internal document. We don't share it with the founders because we don't want to generate any bias of the kind of things they need to assess. But what we do is we provide an intake form. If you go to our website, there the founders can click and they need to answer 10 questions.
Right.
What we do, which is super interesting, this was a great idea of Javier. They find the intake form, they answer those questions, then we hear the pitch on a Zoom and we record the Zoom. Via Otter AI, we get a transcript and then we get the pitch. And all of those inputs, Javier and Marianne have worked maybe for 2 to 3 weeks on a really cool prompt. And then we provide the input of the recorded conversation, PowerPoint, and then we also provide the intake form. That input is generated and then comes out with the deal memo. It's a really cool tool. Javier was thinking also of even doing that outside of Sila, which I told him, no, we shouldn't deviate from the focus of a fund. But
because
it's a really fun thing to do.
I am proud of my tool, right? But we also include if these companies have any publication, many of them don't, but if they have publications, in peer-reviewed journals, we also include that. So we include as much as possible in the analysis. We, as Eric said, we do not share the output of Nitirana, Arun, but we share the questions that come from it, right? So the questions come from it, and we share it like that. I mean, after our analysis, we identify these questions that need to be answered, blah, blah, blah.
Got it. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. And since Alan just joined, Alan, I would like to take advantage to introduce you quickly. Jordi made me an interesting question saying, Eric, are you really sure that the limited partners should get to know each other? And because many venture funds are very jealous, right, of their limited partner pool. But to me, the objective of this fund is really to build community. And I really think, it would be great that we all interconnect. So I'm absolutely happy that we can create community and get to know each other. So Alan is vice president in AstraZeneca. He's based in close to Washington, D.C. So Alan, would you like to introduce yourself briefly just so that you get to know particularly Rebecca and Aaron, which you haven't met before?
Sure. So Alan Patino, nice to meet you. I'm a global commercial vice president for a monoclonal antibody that we're developing in AstraZeneca. And we have the phase 3 readout next year. Previous to that, I was also global commercial vice president for another compound in AstraZeneca the last 4 years. And previous to that, I've done different roles of country manager, country director, business unit director in Latin America and Asia, regional roles in Europe across my career. So access, sales, mainly all commercial roles. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Alan. Thank you for
Nice
joining.
to meet you, Alan.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so any other questions or anything comes to mind of what we shared today? We will be sharing, of course, recording. We will be sharing the document as well. But if there's any other question, we're happy to discuss that. If not, we can close and then continue the dialogue either in the chat on WhatsApp or via email, okay?
I have a clarification. So when Javier was presenting the model you use for selection, you were talking about you have already a database or of hundreds or thousands of opportunities. Is that correct?
Yes.
Am I to conclude that you're not necessarily looking for introductions to opportunities, or yes, you are?
Yes, we are
interested in connections like what just came out about Mayo Clinic and so on. You are. Okay.
Yes, we are. Not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds, right? Close to 1,000
Okay.
opportunities. But many of them are not in theses, or even if they are within the therapeutic space that we're looking, Jordi, not necessarily match our thesis, right? So
Mm.
our thesis is very clear: is cardiometabolic neuropsychiatric therapy, right? Molecules, AI included in the development process. So if you know about any company that is interesting that you, I don't know, you find it or hear something, please let us know, right? Because
Yeah.
it is not easy. There are two challenges, I would say, and this may sound obvious, but it is not in practice. One is the absolute value of a company, right? So this company is good for investment, et cetera, and it has a good Nitirana rating, et cetera, right? And founders are people that we can trust. Cool. That's the absolute value. The challenge is the relative value versus others that we have, right? And sometimes we have an excellent company, but are you going to put which one is better? How, what if another one comes later and we already invested in another one that is not as strong? So that relative value is also linked to time. So that is something that we are learning. And for that reason, I would say that as as we don't have a shortage of companies, we definitely want to look into more as soon as possible so we can assess that relative value.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I would say is, because I know a lot of the VCs here in Silicon Valley, especially the ones on Sand Hill Road, that are just, walking distance to Stanford University, and I know that they have very tight relationships with the professors in the university, and they get the leads from the professors, and they go to the professors and dine and wine them, to hear from them who is working on something, or who should I keep my eyes on, or should I stay in contact with because they are working on something interesting. That is time consuming, but
Yeah.
the channel of the professors, which many of them are tied to those incubators that we were talking about, that is a good way to
Yeah.
get good deal flow, and earlier than, because if you wait later until they come out of the incubators, then all the VCs are lining up there, right? Then you're competing with them for those projects.
Yeah, Jordi, I love what you're saying. Happy to do the wine and dine with anyone that comes into your network.
Okay.
And let me tell you, just to add something that Javier mentioned, what we have seen is a major flooding of startups looking for funding when the NIH and the National Science Foundation were cut from resources. So to me, we don't have a problem of deal flow, but the it's very different to say we need companies that we need good companies. So to me, if you want to shop for companies right now is the perfect time as a venture capitalist to find companies. But the question is, how do you find those truly winners, true winners? And they are exactly in that mode, as you're saying, Jordi, which is, a prestigious Stanford professor working on something really cool and catching them early. So to me, my friend, any interest on that sense would be lovely, and we are more than open to do. Okay.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, perfect. Alan, from your side, any questions or
No,
comments you would like?
I joined a bit late. Sorry for this. But what happened is you send me the deck. I'll send you my questions. The one thing I can tell you is I've been a kind of an angel investor with a group of people here in the Washington D.C. area of a company that in-licensed molecules from different large pharma companies, and we started that 4 years ago. And now we're in the pro. Some of them with Mayo Clinic, with I think Rebecca was talking about. They're still ongoing. That deal may happen very quickly. We might be able to now progress the assets. Some have to show stability data. There are different stages. Some of them actually in license from AstraZeneca, by the way, some from Pfizer, and all of it but one have been progressing. And we we're in a point where now different companies have been created to either be sold or to further raise more capital and progress the asset. So I'd like you to introduce you to someone. Her name is Sia. She just left for 1 or 2 weeks holiday, but when she's back, I would like you to introduce her to her. And it's more than if it's the right companies or not is someone who has been in this space for a long time in the US and China, West Coast, East Coast, and knows the space really well. She might be a really good contact for you.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that, my friend. Okay. Well, just to close, if you know someone that would be interested in the fund, we would really welcome any interest for potential LPs. As I mentioned, we have 20% of the fund raised, but there's still a long way to go. So if you see anyone within your network that could be interested, please bring him to the club and let's have fun together over the next few months that come. Okay.
Okay.
And also, thank you for the trust to all of our LPs. I really appreciate the fact that you're being part of this movement, and I will keep you posted on progress soon. Okay.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
very
Okay.
much.
Good.
Great to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Nice
Thank
meeting
you
you.
very much.
Nice to meet
See
you
you
all.
again.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.